Okay, let's see about loading up the slides. Perfect. Can you hear me okay? Wonderful. Okay, my name is Mikkel Thorup, and what I want to do today is I want to share thank you very much, I want to share a few stories from my life and some of the clients that I've worked with, and kind of use it as an example. Now, a lot of the presentations that we've seen this weekend have been very technical, very engineer architecture, which is amazing. That is not what I'm going to be talking about at all today, all right? What I will be talking about is a lot more of the emotional side of moving to another country. So my presentation is called Opportunity Arbitrage, How Expat Families Can Leverage the Offshore Markets to Grow Their Human Capital. And let's see, there we go. So what are we going to be talking about today? Well, everyone in my industry talks about geoarbitrage, which is really the making of money in one country and spending it in another country. I will not be talking about this either. What I'm going to be talking about is not really the financial side or the monetary side of it. I want to talk to you guys about what I call opportunity arbitrage, which is really leveraging opportunities from one country to another when you live overseas. Now, I want to talk to you about how this increases your human capital and how it increases your family's human capital. And the experiences and opportunities while living overseas are going to make you more sought after as investors, business owners, business partners, and relationships. So there's a lot more that can go into this. So who am I and why do I get to speak about these things? Well, my name is Mikkel Thorup. I host the Expat Money Show podcast, 270 episodes over the last 7 years. I've authored 3 books about living overseas and immigration. I've traveled to more than 110 countries, lived in 9, and circumnavigated the globe over 400 times. I've been at this for more than 23 years straight now, and I get about 3 million people a year who listen to my work or read my work. Clicker, there we go. I sit on the board of directors for multiple companies, both private and a soon-to-be public, and a 501c3 in Africa. I'm the Liberland Ambassador to Panama, Ambassador Council for the Free Cities Foundation, and sit on the advisory board with Titus. I do this at the hobby, family, and professional level. Really, my business is helping high net worth individuals and families relocate overseas. So we deal with a lot of the tax issues, immigration issues, but a lot of the lifestyle things as well. So moving them over there, their kids going to school, the opportunities for the families. What does it look like when you move to a different country? You know, a lot of the people that I work with really never thought or felt like they would ever leave their home country, whether that be Europe or the United States or Canada. They really thought that that was home. And now what we've seen over the last couple of years is people have to make real decisions about what they want for their future and their family's future. And I hope that, if nothing else from today's presentation, what you take away from it is just the passion. Like, I just absolutely love this type of work. I think it is an absolute great calling to be able to be there and help people. And the opportunity that we have, if we decide it is right for our families to move to one of these cities. So this is what I'm going to be talking about today. So hearing all of this, you might think that I went to some fancy school or I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Certainly not. You know, I can prove that experiences are what the world cares about. And the best way that I have found to gain experience is to grow and to put yourself in difficult situations. The most challenging situations I have found is while traveling and living overseas. Now, actually, when I was a child, I was diagnosed with a learning disability. I couldn't read or write. I had to go to a special school for 3 years. And I really had an atrocious experience in public education, state-run education. And I hated it so much that I stopped going to school when I was 12 years old, and I actually officially dropped out of school at 15. Now, I grew up in a home with a lot of love, absolutely, but really not a lot of disposable income. We just ran our summit last week, and someone mentioned to me or sent me a comment, well, this is all great for you, Mikkel, but you must have been born rich. You must have been born with so much privilege to be able to do these things. Really, nothing is farther from the truth. I was working since I was 12 years old and saving up money and putting it into things that made sense for me. And for me, that was experiences. And now I'm multimillionaire, traveled all over the world, financially free, and can do these things. Now, what I want you to understand is that difficulties and challenges are what shape us, okay? Everything that takes you out of your comfort zone and helps you grow makes you more valuable in the marketplace. This is human capital, okay? The combination of our knowledge, health and energy, skills, insights, and decision-making abilities. Now, when you move overseas and you opt into this type of lifestyle, you will make new friends and cultivate new relationships. You will discover new cultures and try new cuisines. You're going to navigate new cities and learn new languages. Even simple things like turning on your cell phone or getting your electricity hooked up for your building, they can be an adventure, all right? I really see that what's happening in the world with working with so many clients and helping them to move overseas, a lot of them are thinking about the negative things, you know? I want to flip that a little bit. I want to talk about opting into these types of things. And really, when you start to view the world from other people's perspective, it can really open you up, because I believe that perspective is one of the most underrated things in the world. And you're going to be able to learn to communicate with people from different backgrounds. I'm native English speaker, and one of the greatest skills that I have in my life is to be able to speak to non-native English speakers in a way that makes sense. Clarity is king, right? This is a skill that I was able to learn while I was living overseas. So if you can show me any other activity in the world which will help you grow as much as traveling and living overseas, I would love to hear it. So how am I helping my own family grow? Well, a quick background on us. So I'm Canadian citizen with Danish heritage. My wife is from mainland China. We met in Germany. We got married in Africa. Our daughter was born in the Middle East. Our son was born in Brazil. Our next child, inshallah, will be born in Mexico. We currently live in Panama, and we have properties in 6-7 countries around the world, and we travel a lot. So what I'm trying to do with my family is really give them an overseas experience. You know, my daughter is 7 years old, and she's already been to 19 countries. We just got back a couple of weeks ago. We were in Georgia, Armenia, Turkey, Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. And it was me, my wife, my 2 kids, my mother, and our nanny. I reckon I am the only man in human history to ever bring his Colombian nanny to Azerbaijan. Okay? So I want to give you guys a couple of examples of what we're doing. So recently when we were in Turkey, we're doing the Citizenship by Investment program. I won't get into too much of the technical side of things, but basically it's a $400,000 real estate investment in the country. So I took my daughter to the meetings with me with my immigration lawyer. So she got to sit there and listen and everything like that. Now, after the meeting was done, we invited our lawyer out for lunch. So they're walking down the street together, my daughter holding hands with this lawyer, and she gets a chance to ask her, you know, like, what is it like to be a lawyer? Why did you decide to be a lawyer? How long did you have to go to school? You know, what is a law? I reckon most adults don't even understand what is a law and where does it come from and how does it work and why do we have these types of things. But she gets a chance to do that with a Turkish lawyer in Istanbul. I mean, I think that's a really cool experience. I think that's a really amazing opportunity when you live overseas and travel. Another quick story. So also while we were in Turkey, we went to Galata Tower, which was my first time there after being to Turkey 8 or 9 times. Stunning, stunning building. And we have a Turkish watercolor artist who does the covers of all of my books. We create a collage of what the country looks like, or a city, very iconic things, and she watercolor paints it. My daughter had a chance to talk to her. And it was amazing because my daughter just goes crazy for art. She loves it so much. So she got a chance to ask her, you know, what is it like to be an artist? Do you like anything else besides watercolor? She says, yes, I like pottery. Oh, my daughter's ears lit up, you know, what is pottery? What does that mean? How does that work, you know? And so for half an hour, she got to follow her around and talk to her about these things. Now, we made an agreement with the artist that I will now take pictures and send it to her on Telegram, and she can critique my daughter's work, right? You're not going to find experiences like that in state-run education. Those are the types of things that you can do when you are traveling. Now, I guess it would fall under the homeschooling umbrella, but maybe a better way to terminology would be world schooling or unschooling or interest-based learning. Really, what I try to do is focus on setting the stage for learning. So I try to be someone who can facilitate learning, someone with access to people, resources, and experiences. I don't do top-down, rote memorization, all right? It didn't work for me when I was in school, and I think it works even less now. And I think that if we look ahead and we're all honest with ourselves on what we're going to see in the future with obviously the internet, but now robotics and artificial intelligence and stuff like that, is rote memorization really the best way to learn things? Or possibly could it be experiences and mentorship and speaking to real people who have done real things in their lives? Now, my children are very, very social. I always get the libertarian question is like, who's going to build the roads? In the homeschooling movement, it's like, well, what about socialization? When we lived in the Middle East, my daughter would go to the park every single day, and she'd play with kids from Pakistan and Afghanistan and the Philippines and South Africa and people from all over the world. And now she goes to the park in Panama, and there's all kids, not just Panamanian kids, but Argentinian kids and people from the Dominican Republic and all of these different places. And she goes to multiple types of karate and swimming lessons and all of these different things. And she's really meeting people from all over the world. So it gives her a worldview right from the beginning. So if you have families, imagine what that is like. Now, where I grew up in southwestern Ontario, I had nobody else from anywhere else in the world. It was like this little city, this little bubble. I didn't know anything about anybody else. And with what's happening in the world, with all the technology, and there's some of it is really amazing, the one thing that I can pretty much guarantee is that in the future, communication and languages and connecting with human beings one-on-one, understanding them, understanding the emotional side, and trying to put yourself in their perspective, I believe that will still be important no matter what. I don't care about quantum computing and AI and all of these things that we're hearing about. I think human connection will always make sense. So how does this help you in business, or how does this help you in your family's business? Well, in the world of business, people care about what you have done, not where you went to school, okay? I have never been asked for my high school diploma. I didn't get asked for my transcripts from university or anything like this. I get asked about, what have I done? How have I helped people, right? It makes sense. Now, the passion that you're going to be able to find when you move overseas, you're going to be able to really expose yourself to many types of situations. And I think that this is very underrated. You're going to be able to find out what people are willing to pay for. Like what happens in one marketplace and that you can take to another. We call this the cross-pollination of ideas. So traditionally in business, we might be looking at something like, let's say that you are moving into the healthcare industry, but you have a background in hospitality. What ideas can you take from hospitality and move them over to healthcare, right? Well, I want to challenge you a little bit because what opportunities can you see in one country that you think would work really well in another country, It might be absolutely standard practice in the country you were born in, but in another country it's completely foreign, or vice versa. There's many times my wife and I, while traveling around the world, will look at a business or a company and go, wow, wouldn't that be amazing to bring that to Latin America? Okay, how would that work? What is the mentality like? Would they understand these types of things? Would we get the same type of work ethic from an Asian product now into Latin America? How does this all fit together? It's a really good thought experiment. And I would challenge you guys, when moving to a free city, what ideas can you take that work really, really well and bring them with you when you opt into these places? And it's rewarding. Do something that you find meaning in. I certainly did. As traveling around the world, I found what made sense to me. When I was 17 years old and I went overseas, I realized, like, these are my people. Like, them's my peeps, you know? Like, I was so excited. And I've dedicated my life to helping people realize these types of things. So to discover what matters to you. So, to bring things full circle, focus on growing your family's human capital. Remember, human capital is the combination of our knowledge, health and energy, skills, insights, and decision-making abilities. So when you move overseas, think about the experiences that you and your family will have together. The people that you will meet. Imagine all of the incredible people that we've met this weekend, and now in an entire city of like-minded people. That's pretty powerful. Now, think about the perspective. I've met people from every corner of the world at this conference, and everybody has the certain lens how they see the world, all right? Challenge yourself with these things. Now, the community, as we said, is so important. Now, it's not just about yourself, it's also about your spouse or your children or your parents or your brother and sister or anybody who's coming with you, how they will integrate into these things and the challenges you guys are going to overcome. So that's my presentation. My name is Mikkel Thorup. If you guys want to find out more about my work, you guys can go to expatmoney.com. Very happy to be here this weekend. Thank you so much.
If somebody listens to your presentations, I think it really sounds amazing relocating to more liberty-oriented countries. But nonetheless, there's like less than 1% of people who are actually doing something like this. Why do you think that is?
So very good question. And I would say, first and foremost, you know, even when people do these types of things and they go on their own, you'll see a lot of times that they don't have a fantastic success rate. Like, I have many people that I've worked with who moved to, say, Costa Rica or Mexico or something like that. And one of the biggest complaints that they have is it's like a revolving door. Every other week or every other month, their neighbors are changing or someone is coming in or coming out. And it's disconcerting for them because they want to build relationships. They want to get to know other people. But people are unprepared for what goes into these types of things. So they make snap decisions and move to a place, pick up their family. I can tell you with my work, we have pretty much a 99% success rate. You know, we've relocated hundreds of families overseas, and the families are situated and have a good community. I think that people are not mentally prepared. To go back to your question, I think that people are not mentally prepared for how much work goes into these things. Okay, we can talk about the tax issues and the immigration issues and the financial and the banking. I do that. I mean, I absolutely help my clients with those things. But the underlying thing is the emotional side and the EQ type of piece of the puzzle, right? Now, I don't sell that, you know, I'm not trying to be a life coach or anything like that. But actually, a big part of my job is being a career counselor, a marriage counselor, helping the children to integrate. There's so many little things that need to go into that. And I believe that if people did a little bit more work on the front end, getting ready for those things and understanding more about them, then we would see a larger portion of people actually move overseas, and when they move overseas, integrate into the society. Like, I'm not a digital nomad. I don't call myself a digital nomad. I call myself an expat, which for me means moving to a country, learning the local language, learning the history and the culture, having local friends. And when you do that, actually, it's very rewarding. Does that make sense?